All right, so manipulating data and information. Here they are talking about a concept, or like they are trying to talk about the things comparing to the manual, handling the data manually, and as well as handling the data electronically, right? So first they are talking about what are the drawbacks of handling the data manually.
I need a beautiful dress.
Wow, that's nice, Susie. That's for whom?
Yeah, it's for a princess.
Okay.
I'll add some details.
All right. So the first one they call is the inconsistency, right? So it says data inconsistency occurs between files when the similar data kept in different formats in two different files, right? So that is very, it's a very important fact, right? When similar data kept in different formats in two different files, right? Which will lead you to a particular person will lead into the unawareness or like unclearness of this information, right? So when a particular information is uncertain, means we can't make any predictions, or like we can't make any decisions based on that, right? So due to this inconsistency, some of the data can be repeated unwantedly, right? Because there should be some particular things, or like some particular decision making happens in a solid manner, right? But if the data is inconsistent, okay, so it will be affected, right? And duplication of data, right? So like knowingly or unknowingly, data can be duplicated. And when it comes to the database, we can't eliminate the entire duplications. There will be some needed duplications as well for the reference sake. But if it is an unwanted repetition, then of course it's going to be a problem. And lack of sharing information, yes. So if it is manual, you have to record it on a piece of paper or on a particular book. Somehow, if this particular thing needs to be referred by someone else, if it is just one person, then it will be okay. But if it is going to be like more than one, then someone should stay until other one get done the thing. So like the sharing, right? So you can give to some particular person, okay, you just refer this and do your report. So at the same time, if someone else need the same book, since it has been borrowed, they must be like going on some particular way, all right? So when it comes to the electronical method, case is not like that, right? It can be shared anywhere, right? Like among many people, as I remember, like there is no any limitations, right? So like the same book or the same data can be accessed by many different people at the same time, right? And room for errors, this room for errors and the next point, human error and delay in processing goes together, right? Room for error means like when something is stored manually, in case if something goes wrong, there is no one else to alert that person, right? So he or she will manage the data by themselves and doing the way that they feel it is good, right? But there can be mistakes, right? Sometimes with the fatigue levels, like when they are tired after the lunch or after the let's say like around 2 to 3, right? So like they are not that motivated to do the particular job when you are starting at the morning, right? So the the level of that you can hold that particular thing will be over soon. So you have to find some particular way of doing the things in the correct way, right? But the problem is still you can have some human errors, right? Sometimes you may miss a digit, sometimes you may miss a particular letter, right? So those kind of things can be happen. So when the errors are there, those can be human errors as well as the errors that the other people have done apart from you, if the database is referring from different people, right? And delay in processing, definitely the processing will be delayed because you have to refer the books and then you have to take it out, and then you have to process things with the details which is on the paper or in a particular book, right? But when it comes to the computer kind of electronical things, we can configure it when the input is available. So manage it and do the things in a proper way. Like we can add some rules to the database management system saying for this particular value, you must enter a value in between these two things, right? So as an example, if you think like there is a system which records the employee salary. So let's say if the salary is not being processed manually, if they are processing those things manually and still it is not being processed, they may take 2 to 3 days for them to process. But when it is being implemented as a system or as an electronical way, they can easily manage things and they can find things, they can search things, they can update things, they can delete things. Likewise, they can do many different error corrections when they are having the chances, right? So like another example, if there is a text box of inputting the NIC number, NIC number will usually request 12 digits, right? So they can fix that particular role to the database management system, or like to the system that you are using, the electronic one. So then it goes the same way, right? So in case if someone input values less than 12 numbers or like 12 characters, then automatically a message will be popped up and say this particular role contains only value and it should be like what better than some certain point or like more than some certain of point. And the last one, it is called the reduced customer services. So like if the things are happen manually, so you have to visit manually to that particular person, and then you have to learn, and then you have to like have your services going with the customers, right? First they will teach you what kind of a customer service that you should provide when it comes to the this sales sector. And when it is done manually, people will purchase the things, and like if we think about a particular purchase of a laptop, so you will visit to a particular shop. Let's say you are visiting to LG and you are buying a laptop, and when you are here at home, when you are managing that or setting up the computer, there will be some particular problem. But if you need to get a help, still in Sri Lanka, you have to visit to the place again, and you have to hand over the laptop and ask for the troubleshoot if it is not something that you can recover. Right, but if the things can be done as remotely, like using the remote access or remote login, so he or she does not need to be waited since it is done manually, right? So if it is done manually, then if something needs to be prepared or replaced or to be touched by the technician, the computer, so we have to send it to them, right? So it will take time, right? But when it is done electronically, it can reduce time. But that doesn't mean we can get rid of the customer service problems, but still it is in a way that the customer can feel it as quickly as possible from the seller, right? When it is electronic or when it is online. Okay, so yeah, any unclear things about these topics, people? Right, okay. Right, so moving forward. Yeah, here they are like pointing out the infeasibility of applying manual methods, right? So they have popped you up or like take your attention into 4 different areas, right? The security area and the human errors, we talked about it previously, as well as knowledge and skill levels that like if we are talking about a particular computer, he or she need to have that basic particular ability, right? And the attitudes, like it can be good attitude or a bad attitude regarding the methods that they are using. If it time consumes, then we have to go for a different type of skill set, or like we should give him or her a special practice to get practice regarding this and then come back.
Daddy, look.
Wow, that's very nice, Suzu.
I made a cute doll.
Yes. Maybe Nadia then. Suzu, I need this place. Okay, so yes, when it comes to the security problems, people, in manual method, we can only lock that particular book inside a cupboard, right? That is the maximum security that we can give. But when it comes to the electronical methods, we can use usernames, password, access privileges. There will be many methods that they can do, right? Human errors, we talk about it. Knowledge and skill levels, we talk about it a little while ago, right? And it matters. If you really don't know how to handle a computer, then of course it doesn't matter how much knowledge that you have regarding that sector, but still you can't deliver it, right? So likewise. Okay, so yeah, before we move to the drawback, yeah. Now here it is talking about how to overcome those drawbacks using the electronic method or using information technology, right? So you can eliminate data redundancy when it comes to when they are using a database management system. So most of the things will be managed by the system. We are just entering some things into the system on those cases. Ease of maintenance, yes, you don't need to keep a lot of books with you, right? You only need a small device. Even inside your mobile device you can manage these things, right? And it is pretty easy since you don't have physical stock or physical particular thing, so it will be much easier for you to maintain, right? If you got a particular premises, then you have to pay for that premise, you have to make it clean, right? Likewise should be, right? But for the moment it is very easy when it comes to the maintenance part. Reduce storage cost, yes, as I told you earlier, right? If it is a library, that library has lots of shelves to store the data, right? But all those books can be converted into ebooks, and we can let it save in a cloud or save in a hard disk or something like that. So the point is, a library, a building like a library has a huge floor area to store the things, but when it comes to the computer, we only need few inches or like a few square inches to do the to manage the storage. So definitely the storage cost will be reduced. And yeah, data integrity, we talk about these things. Integrity directly refers with how the things are happening, like is it happening in the truthful manner or not. And to have that integrity, we should reduce the duplication, and we should have proper relationship in between the tables, the components. So if it can be managed, you can get rid of this data integrity. Like that means like you can establish the data integrity. And they are talking about the data independence as well. That means this data, when you store it electronically, it can be accessed by many different programs, right? If you want to access it by let's say through a Python program, yes, you can access it. If you want to access it using a Java program, again you can access the same data. So it is only a matter of having the correct programming language into whatever you are doing, right? So you can just have that and move it using many different softwares. And the final part is about the privacy. And privacy is something that an individual, as well as when it comes to the database aspect, he is not entering into it at will. All right. So like the data which is being added to the database should be maintained with a strong privacy policy, right? And as the last line says, user can be granted access to the data for reading or updating, right? So those things will be limited, right? But when it comes to the privacy, it will be like posted or like protected in much ways. Okay. So we have went up to the development of computer networks and the internet and www. So I'm not going to talk about this today, since it is an online session and you are just hearing what I'm saying. Will be quite boring. So let's try to figure out to do some calculations. Hold on, Susu. Yeah, I'll come. Hold on. Lamai, give me a second. Okay, so we'll try some calculations from the third lesson, people. So when it comes to the third lesson, you have to write the things with me, right? Because it's all about calculations. So it's better we write down the things, and you have to do the calculations. I'll show you the way how these things are being done. Then we can continue with the some particular calculations, right? Okay, so give me a second. I have to on my whiteboard and to get ready with this. Hold on.
Carl said it must have been, wow! That's really, really great.
Okay, so for this you need your writing books, people. So have the heading number systems. Right, so this is the third unit. Right, in this section, now there's a small note that I can provide you by printing it out. So you only need to go with some of the examples that I'm going to do, right? So then the calculation must be done on your book, but the theory parts, I'm printing those things and give it to you. So don't worry about those things, right? So I'll do the a small explanation how these things are working. So then when it comes to the calculating part, I'll tell you what to be written, right? So when it comes to the number system, there is a reason why we are like learning number systems, right? It is because this computer can understand, we generally say computer can understand ones and zeros, right? So when the computer understands ones and zeros, human, us, we can't understand ones and zeros patterns for a long, lengthier way, right? So like for each and every character that you can find on the keyboard and on your virtual keyboard, they have their own code system, or like any particular code to identify yourself, right? So yourself means like to identify what is that you are going to what you are trying to tell to the computer, right? So as an example, for the letter A, there will be a different kind of code, right? And for the letter B, there will be a different kind of code, right? So when we are pressing the character A, that will indicate the CPU by this particular code, right? So once the CPU, central processing unit, the chip that is there on the motherboard, then the CPU will understand, okay, what this particular user has asked to represent. So according to that, the monitor will display the letter A, right? So it's the CPU which orders the monitor to show the specific character, right? So this is what is happening generally, right? Even though we explain it like this, the computer can understand only ones and zeros, still there are ways that we can represent data in different formats, or using different number of ones and zeros. So what you can see on the board, on the on your monitor, it is kind of a 8-bit representation, right? Because I was reading these things, right? So it is kind of an 8-bit code. So then of course, you have to understand what you need to tell to the computer if you really want to understand how these things are going to happen, right? It's a simple one, right? So now when the A is pressed, if this particular code has been delivered to the CPU knows what to be done with the monitor. Right. But again, when it comes to the computer, even though we told them it goes with these codes, and these codes are made out of ones and zeros. So due to this, we say computer understands only binary. That means a code of ones and zeros. Right. But the problem is when this is getting bigger and bigger, because nowadays in your computer with the Windows 10 operating system, they will choose a particular set of employees, right, with the knowledge of these hardware components, or like this particular thing. So for that reason, it's better you understand. If someone asks you what actually happens in the computer, it's better you learn how to explain it. It's not actually ones and zeros that the computer understands. Computer understands the voltages. It understands 0 voltage or lower voltage. It understands higher voltage or 5. Right? So this is how we are. Right? This is how they are responding. All right. So this particular low voltage is indicated as 0. This particular high voltage is indicated as 1. Right? So that is what actually happens. It's the electrical thing. When it is getting higher, it gets 1. When it is in lower, it gets 0. Right? So if you think about today's situation, we are using a 16-bit long, right? A 16-bit long coding system. Right, so capital A will be represent, like if we index these things, right? So like the entire width is 16-bit. Right, so think about writing your name using this kind of a coding system, right? Which will be very big in ones and zeros. Still, the computer has the capability of processing the things very quickly. They will make it out, but still, it's a very lengthy code. So due to this, these lengthy codes are being shorted, or like is reduced using another two particular things, or like two particular ways, which is called the octal representation and hexadecimal representation. Right, so through the lesson, we are going to learn about these octals, these hexadecimals, as well as binary. Okay, are we clear, everyone? You don't need to draw this on your book, right? Okay, that's great. You place it there and it will help. Place it there and be careful. Okay, so there are 4 types of number systems that you need to learn. One is that you know already. So I'll write the name of the number system over here. Right, so the names can be given like this: binary, octal, yeah. People sometimes this goes oversensitive, so excuse me. Hexadecimal. Better I write it down. Okay, so the base, it's going to be, for binary it's 2, octal it's 8, decimal it's 10, hexadecimal it's 16. And characteristics wise, what happens? Oh, that's nice.
No, I have fixed it.
Okay. Right, then as the characteristics, there's a nice relationship in between the characters. If it is binary, it's going to be 0 and 1. For octal, it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Look at this.
Sujata is doing a class monitor. That's nice. For decimal, it is starting from 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm not writing the 10 because it will destroy the basis. It may go up till to 9. So after 9, 10 is A, 11 is B, 12 is C, 13 is D, and 14 is E, and 15 is F. Right? So why we are using these numbers? I'm sorry, these letters. Because if we write 10 over here, it's going to be the violation regarding the number system characteristics. Right? The violation is the 0 and 1 will be used again. When it comes to the characteristics, those should be unique from each other. Right? So it's better you learn what are the English letters in the hexadecimal number system. Yeah. People, is that clear? Okay, so after your topic, it's better you write this part only. Write this as a chart. Let me know when you're done, people. Okay, one is done. How about others?
Now I have a baby face.
Okay, anyone else who is still writing? Okay, okay, Sydney. Finish writing, let me know once you're done. All right, so now we can move forward. Am I? Hold on a minute. Okay, so as well as when it comes to the numbers that we are going to use, there are certain places that we have to learn about a particular number, right? So there are special two places when it comes to a particular number, which we call the most significant value and the least significant value, positional values, right? So it goes like this, right? So like first I'll talk about the most significant positional value, right? This is better you write on your book, people. Most significant digit. So it says MSD. Right, so this is
Daddy, look at this.
that is nice, Suzo. That's a mirror, right?
Yeah, it has inside. It has me inside.
No. So her Anita is doing the class in here. Ah, okay.
You are in there.
Oh, yes.
You look crazy in there.
So this can be described like this, people. When it comes to the what we call the whole numbers, most significant digit will be the leftmost value, which is not a zero. Right, so I'll write it like this. The leftmost, come up with the symbol, the word symbol. Right, so that is for a whole number. And if it contains decimal points or the decimal places, or if it is a floating point value, again, it is going to be the I think it's better I look at the previous one so it goes the same way. Right, and the case is going to be something special when it comes to a value which has only the decimal places. That means if it does not have a whole number part, the whole number part is 0. So if the value is Right. So this is describing something like this, people. So you can see how this example is working. Now, if I'm taking a whole number, something like this, 236, right? And I'll take some values over here. If I say 0, 20, right? And I take just one number. Then 36.75, right? And 0.0734, right? In these values, the most significant digits are going to be this. So for a whole number, the leftmost value, which is not a 0, and here it's going to be this. When it is only one number, it's going to be, and here it is 3, and over here it is 7. This is the place that I told you it's only fractional part, or like the decimal part. Right now, all these things is called the MSD. Okay, write this down, people. People, if you get anything which is not clear to you, please ask. Right? And let me know when you are done, people. Okay, one is done. 2 are done. How about others? All right, 3 are done. Okay, anyone who is still writing? Right. When it comes to the least significant bit, right? So like it has a most significant place. It also have a least significant place as well, right? So when it comes to the least significant part, it's going to be like this. Least significant digit. So it's going to be the rightmost value of a whole number. So for a whole number, it's the rightmost value. And for a decimal number, or like the number which contains decimal points, it's again the rightmost value, but it shouldn't be a 0. Rightmost value which is not a 0, of a value. I'm sorry, value is not a good name over here. It should be the symbol. Right. So if I consider the same things, so if I consider 236, 020, 7, 36.75, and 0.0734. All right, and I'll do a slight change over here. I'll put a 0 for this part as well. Right. So in these cases, these are going to be the LSD, least significant digit. Here it's going to be a 0. Since it is only one value, it's going to be the very last one. This is the rightmost one, which is not a 0. Again, rightmost one, which is not a 0. So these things can be considered as the least significant digits. Okay, write it down, people. Let me know when you are done. All right, 2 are done. Three are done. Okay. Anyone who is still writing? Okay. So Yeah, so since we know about the most significant digit and least significant digit, there's a special point that we need to write down. When it comes to the binary values, this particular term is called in a little bit different manner. Since it is binary, we consider like binary number system contains bits. All right, so least significant digit is named as least significant bit. Most significant digit is named as most significant bit, right? So for binary number system, it is taken as MSB and LSB, something like that, right? So let me write it down. You can write it down with me, right? Okay, are we done? Let me know when you are done. Okay, one is done. How about others? All right, that's great. Anyone who is still writing? Yes, anyone who is still doing?